morning, streakers. I had to say it faster so that I could get in before Jeff.
Wow.
Or good afternoon. I always say good morning, but it could be anything that you want, any time of day.
You know, morning is just that time when you're waking up to the world and everything else. And so whatever
Just
time
feels
you're
like
listening.
It's probably it's the beginning of your day. Here we go.
Yeah, you're introducing your day
with us
Jeff and Jamie.
Jamie.
I don't know how much we say our name or talk to people about who
I know,
we
we
are.
wondered that. I was thinking the other day, I'm like, should we say, hi, this is Jeff and Jamie
We just get right into it
on
though.
our streaking podcast.
Yeah.
We do. We just jump right
We're
in.
just
It's
like,
like
let's do
everything
this.
else we do in life.
Let's
just
do
get
this.
going.
Well, the election is over.
Yes, it is. Thank heavens it's over.
Yeah.
We're
not going to talk about the results at all.
Nope,
but
we're not.
But the thing about it though is it relates to what we were talking about last time as far as having patience.
Totally. We live in a time where it is such a good opportunity to practice patience. We are given massive amounts of opportunity to become very patient people.
On whatever side of the political spectrum you find yourself.
Yep.
It is one of those things where, okay, let's go ahead and practice some patience here.
Right.
Because one of the things that I look at as far as practicing patience is results do not always go the way that you want them to, whoever
Right.
you are.
Whoever you are, whatever.
Living in the United States of America and recognizing that we have freedoms and that people can vote in whatever way that they want, there's sometimes it goes your way and sometimes it doesn't. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
You ready? I
think
love it
so.
when your eyes get wide.
It's because we didn't talk about the question.
We talked about it. It's just, what do you do so when results don't go your way? And this relates to responsive, but how do you be patient and how do you continue to be patient when results don't go your way? I mean, that again, just continuing on with this theme, that's tough to do. It is something that you look at because I get all riled up. I mean, I get excited about things. I'm a passionate person at heart. You know, my Italian blood, it is right there at the surface.
Right.
And it's always right there. So what do you do when things don't go your way?
That's such a good question. What do I do when things don't go my way? Stop.
What sage advice would you give?
Stop and just think. What sage advice would you give? What do you do when things don't go your way?
Well, I get upset and angry. Sometimes.
And then I think, I don't want to get upset and angry. I think so that, again, we talked about that. The first thing is deciding, maybe part of it is before you get, like we had talked about before it happens, looking at saying, how do I want to respond to these situations? Actually, that was on one of my lists for an idea for a streak.
What's that?
Was once a week to pick a situation and visualize how I could have responded to it differently.
Yeah. Oh, now that's interesting. So pick a situation that you had been through.
Something that happened in the week.
Okay.
So it would be a weekly streak. And I would just, at any point in the week, pick a situation that it's something that I had gone through that week and visualize how I could have responded to it better, how I could have responded to it differently and more positively.
Wow. Visualizing and looking at and considering everything that was done because it already happened.
Right. It already happened.
I mean, it's something that you'd already done.
Yep.
But now looking at it and saying, okay, what could I have done differently to be either patient or more responsive in that situation?
Right. So it was one of my ideas that I was thinking about that I was like, okay, as I want to be more patient, are there streaks out there that I could set? And that was one of them that I was thinking as I thought, just sometimes being aware. One, I guess I get in a situation, I'm like, wow, I could have handled that better. So instead of just saying that, actually actively, proactively looking each week at something I did and thinking, okay, how could I have handled that differently? Like taking the time to think about it.
Okay, so I've just had a flood of memories that have just come into my brain.
Okay.
I'm going to bring a few of them up.
Okay.
One of those memories was when we had just bought our first house, and we were in our first house, and we had Megan, our oldest, who was just learning how to walk.
Yeah. 18 months,
and
maybe.
I think
No, she was younger
Rose
than
had
that.
not been born yet. I don't think. Maybe she had. Was she born in that? Because she was born in that house.
Yeah, so we just had
Okay.
our oldest.
So we had a main floor and a downstairs.
Yes.
And you know the story I'm going to
Yep,
tell, don't you?
I know it now.
So Megan had walked over to the top of the stairs, and you were kind of right there close, and I was
Yes.
either behind you or something. And she took that step, which meant she was going down
She
the
went
stairs.
from the top of the stairs.
Now, if
And
you're
they were
if you're a
not
parent and
carpeted
have had this
stairs.
moment, it is a moment of fear and absolute panic.
Yes.
I mean, what is going to happen here? And she started going down those stairs. And what did you say? What was your whole thing the whole day?
Well, it was a basement, so it's not like
Gratefully, Megan is fine. We may have stunted her growth a little bit. Sorry about that, Meg.
she did only grow to be 5 feet tall. You're right. Maybe that was it. Sorry, Megan.
Sorry,
It is
Meg.
our fault after
We love
all.
you.
No, she was at the top of the stairs, and I could see that she was gonna, but I was far enough away that I couldn't get her. And I saw her go down, and I was literally just one step behind her the whole way down, and every step was Jeff, 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 Jeff.
I don't know
Like,
why she was calling my name.
You were gonna fix this. Not Megan. I wasn't like Megan, Megan, Megan. I was
No.
like Jeff, Jeff, Jeff.
Exactly.
Why are you not there to pick the baby up? Anyway, it was.
And that was a scary moment. I mean, where you see, luckily, most children are made of a little bit more rubber than they are brittle bone. And
Yes,
so she
thankfully,
wasn't
she wasn't hurt.
She was cried, startled a little bit, but gratefully she wasn't hurt. But that took it. I mean, that was an intense moment.
Yes. And I reacted. There was no responding. My reaction was to call out your name
Okay.
and be angry that you weren't fixing this.
And so a couple of
Why weren't you there when I needed you?
That is a good question. so the question that
How many years has it been?
Oh my
and I
goodness.
still
And
can
still, you
bring
still
up
feel
that
it.
emotion and be
I know.
like, I still know exactly how I felt.
Exactly.
Mad at you that you weren't there to get that baby for me.
To solve the problem,
Solve that
to
problem.
solve the situation, and to make it so that we had it a little bit better. Okay, so,
That was the reaction, yes.
but my question is this. You look back on that situation,
Mm-hmm.
and the reflex to get her is actually a good thing.
Yes.
I mean, you don't
need
want to
those
think in that
reflexes.
moment. You want that reflex.
Yes.
And that's why I would look at it and say, with habit and routine, that's what you're trying to get to, where you have that immediate reflex reaction
Oh, that's good.
to get to. So not all the time, I would say reaction is bad when it's been trained to be good.
That's good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's totally good that you would train to be able to
Yeah.
be there in that moment quickly,
Yeah.
almost without thinking.
Right. Exactly.
So, but I guess, okay, I'm going to debate this with you a little bit because we call them first responders, not because they're just the first people on the accident,
that's a
but
good point.
because we don't call them first reactors. We call them first responders. In other words, they are responding because they train for hours and hours and hours to respond in a highly intense situation.
That is a great point.
And so,
So maybe
could I have responded better if I had been prepared for that?
could you have responded?
Could I
Could you have
have
been a first
responded?
responder?
Yeah.
And
So in
and-
other
and-
words,
and saw it
you
before
bring
it
up
was
a
coming
good
little
point.
bit, but-
So my reaction was, you should be there to fix it. Where I could have been responded more thinking through, okay, what potential harm could be here? What do I need to look for? I should look for a concussion. I should make sure her arms aren't broken. You know what I mean? Those
Right.
kinds of things. Responding
rather
to
than thinking about what could have been, think about,
rather
okay,
than
what's happening right
this is
now in
what's
this
happening.
moment? And what do I need
How
to
do I
do to take care
respond
of
to
this?
it?
How do I respond? How do I make sure it's
Exactly.
taken care of?
instead of being angry that it was even happening and why didn't you stop it from happening? Sorry. I forgive you.
Thank you. Thank you, hon.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for forgiving me. I appreciate that.
So why did that
'Cause I
make
was
you think
behind
of
you.
patience? We were talking about patience. Why did that?
Well, I was just thinking about different things as far as, because you had brought up the streak. I'm going to think about, because I think the streak could be expanded to not just something that happened in the last week, but more, I'm going to think about one thing weekly that I could have responded to rather than reacted to.
Do you think it
So
could
in other
be-
words, so I was thinking through our past, all the different things that had happened.
Oh.
Like another flood of memory that came to me was, remember when I pulled into the driveway and it was the green truck,
Yep.
and you have that look on your
That's
face.
'cause
You know
I
this
remember
one too.
this one.
All right, so I had this little green Ford truck. I think it was a Ford Ranger. Anyway, we pulled into the driveway.
We had one of those driveways that
It was a pull through.
is a pull through. Yeah. So you pulled in one side. The one side was on kind of the neighborhood street, but the other side of it was a really pretty busy street. The front of our house faced a pretty busy street.
Right. And we were sitting, and I'd come in after, and it was a tough day. I remember it was a tough day for whatever reason.
It obviously must have been a tough day because you were not in your right mind.
so we're coming in. I think you had dinner ready.
Uh-huh.
And so I came in. I had just come in from a bunch of sales calls, and we were sitting down to dinner.
And we had this kitchen that had these cute front windows that looked out onto
a busy street. Yeah. So the driveway, part of the driveway faced the busy street, part of the driveway faced the neighborhood street.
Yep. And you had pulled in from the neighborhood street, so the front of the truck was facing
the busy street. Right. And so we're sitting there.
Do you guys see where this is going? I don't know if they see it yet.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they do. So we're sitting there, and I remember looking out the window, and the truck was moving. And I thought to myself, why is it moving?
And I thought to myself, I think that's our truck.
And then I thought, someone's stealing my truck.
I love that
it rolls. I know that was the first
Someone
response.
is stealing my truck.
Someone's stealing my truck. And it started
very slowly.
Because it was going fast.
Rolling.
It was and it rolled down the driveway, and we watched it. We sat there and watched it.
We did not react. We just sat there and watched.
Maybe that was the reaction. That was the deer in headlight. So it rolls all the way across this busy street and hits a tree on the other side of the street.
Just slow motion.
Boom. And we just watched it. And it was amazing because, one, there was no traffic at that particular moment. There was absolutely no traffic.
Honestly, someone could have hit, this random slow rolling truck moving across this busy street with actually nobody in it.
I have no idea what just happened here. So I did get up from the table. I got the truck. Gratefully the engine still ran and everything. But I remember seeing it hit the tree and seeing the whole thing in slow motion. And so I got the truck, pulled it back around, and
you
realized,
got the truck because there was nobody in the truck. No one was stealing your truck.
So I pulled it back, or I pulled it out. What I realized when I got in the truck, is that I had left it in neutral.
You left the keys in? You just got out of the car. Like, who does that? You literally just got out of the truck. It wasn't a car. You just got out of the truck. You just literally out and then
out.
And it stayed there for a couple seconds.
I know.
But then off it went. So I could look back at that moment and think, how could I have exhibited more patience? Actually, I was pretty patient. I was like, wow. Better you than me.
Bummer for you.
This
was in that same house.
It
was in the same house too. Megan going down the stairs.
Yes.
Me, the truck slowly rolling out.
Street.
I was flabbergasted. I didn't know what to do.
I still just picture us sitting at the window going,
"Who is stealing the truck?" Because I asked that out loud. Do you remember?
That's our truck. That's weird. It's just going slow. It just did not compute. It did not compute.
So
anyway.
So again. In the situation, so that was what. So thinking back on that, what could I have done to respond? I could have gotten up from the table and immediately gone out and gotten to the truck.
You should practice being more prepared for when you leave the car, when you leave the keys in the car, and just
being mindful. Well, and so that's another streak is mindfulness.
Mindfulness, being aware
of the situation, taking a deep breath. Because what had happened is I was distracted by so many other things that were going on, and when distractions happen, bad things happen. And reminds me of another memory that you don't want to bring up. You have to share it though, because it was.
But you're right. This is a good instance.
It's so important for all of us to know that this can happen in any moment.
It was after, so it was child number 6.
Yeah.
He had just been born.
Was it Bowen?
Yeah, it was Bowen. And
I thought it was Chance.
Maybe it was Chance.
I think it was Chance because you were.
So you're right. It was child 7.
Yeah.
And we were helping do a wedding.
Yes.
At our house, just a dinner. And so I was trying to get a whole bunch of things ready for that. And I had just a few last things that I needed to get done. Actually, there was a whole bunch of things going on, but I needed to go run an errand real quick. And I brought Chance with me. But the minute I pulled out of the driveway, I started thinking about all the things and these errands that I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And calculating in my head, okay, here I'm gonna go. You know how you kind of
we all know where this story is going.
Most efficient. How can I do it most efficient? I'll go here first, and I'll go here first, then I'll do this.
Right.
And so I did it. I got to my first place. I was in the store. I was getting everything done. I came out. I put all this stuff that I had bought in the back of the car. Got in the car, going to my second place, and all of a sudden I hear Chance kind of make a little cute baby noise, and I think, I totally forgot that I brought him with me.
So you had gone into the store.
I had gone into the store.
Come back out.
I forgot the minute I pulled out of the driveway. Like
Yeah.
I just went on to what I was doing.
So when you realized he was in the store, what happened?
I burst into tears because immediately I thought of all the things that could have happened.
Yeah.
Because not just that I had left him, but that I completely forgot that I had even brought him with me.
So significant. I was reading Creativity Inc., which is all about Pixar and how the formation of Pixar and the things that they would do as far as to get the movies going and how long hours work. And that was one of their workers that had happened to them as well. And they decided right there at that moment, they're like, you know what, it is not worth it.
This is not worth it. And that was what happened to me. I was like, it doesn't matter about this wedding. It doesn't matter about Thanksgiving, because I think Thanksgiving was around that same time it was coming up as well.
Isn't that interesting?
All
because
of
that's
these
what we have
things.
coming right now.
Right,
We've
it
got
was- maybe that's
Thanksgiving
why we were
coming. We've
thinking about
got
it. It's
Christmas
just that
coming.
same
We've
time
got
of year.
all of these things that can take you on this course and distract us from the things that are most important.
Yeah. And so we had talked about like just slowing down a little bit, taking some of the streaks that you can do to help with this mindfulness,
So back
with
then,
this patience.
had you had a streak of, say, for example, take at least 5 breaths when I get in the car?
Would that have helped? I hope so. That experience alone it solidified and burned in my mind that there isn't anything that I need to get to fast enough that I shouldn't just slow down and relax.
And I think that's
Nothing is so important.
right. One of the things that you're talking about that's so key is the urgent versus the important. And when I look at streaking, one of the things that I'm intentionally doing is setting up what is important. We talk about people who will, they ask us, and we talked about this on a couple of podcasts, how many streaks we have. It really doesn't matter.
Nope.
What matters is I'm doing the things that are important to me. And if I want to be a responsive, a patient person, someone who is really focused in on and understanding that I want to be this person because it impacts the people around me.
Yep.
It impacts my own life as far as my own health. All of those things, I'm going to set 1 or 2 streaks or have a stack of streaks that are all about being patient. So I just want to give a stack of streaks that might be patient. 1, take at least 5 breaths daily.
Right. Just stop for a minute. Take 5 deep breaths daily.
Here's
It's
a
a great
second one. Listen to this one. This is one that came from, you were reading the patience article or something like that,
Okay.
how to develop patience. But it is and I forget what exactly how to say it, do a self-assessment or something like that daily and notice where you're holding tension in your body
I liked that one.
and let it
and
relax.
let it go. So
and
it
let
was
go.
just stopping for a minute and noticing the state that your body is in and noticing where you're holding tension.
Now just think if you
and
had
just
that
let
as a
go.
streak.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have it as a streak
I don't
right
either,
now.
but I loved it. I was like, that's a really good idea. And you
Where
can do it
absolutely
anytime.
every day. And I could just sit there and go, okay, I'm just going to right now, I'm holding tension in my shoulders. I'm going to let that
and
go.
I want to give a little thought on this one. So you may choose to do something like this. So you set a streak to take 5 breaths daily or to notice tension in your body. And you set that streak. And for the first little while that you're doing that streak, you don't remember to do it until before you're going to bed. Like you go through the whole day and you don't even think about it. And maybe that happens for weeks. Maybe that happens for months. I am here to tell
Where you're
you.
just doing it just
before you go to
bed.
bed because it's on your
So
list of streaks.
does it really count?
Right,
If
so
I did it just before I went to bed.
That's why I brought this up, is because you are teaching yourself how to think about something every day. And that takes time. So don't give up on it and think, well, I'm not making any improvement because I'm 2, 3, 4 months into this.
Yeah.
And I'm still just doing it right before I go to bed. Because I promise you, if you keep doing it, if you keep that streak alive, there will be this moment where something happens and that streak triggers for you. And you're like, I just took deep breaths in a moment because you have been intentionally thinking about that every day. It doesn't matter if it was just before you went to bed. You're teaching yourself to think about
now,
that.
some may say that that's a habit, that you've taught yourself how to do a habit. And that's one of the things I just wanted to riff in real quick, because I think what happens is something, you do get a trigger, which is related to a habit.
I agree.
However, what you're doing is now intentionally saying, I have a streak today. and it is to do a self-assessment and relax one part of my body.
Yep.
And I'm going to do that intentionally.
Yep. And that's what the streak does, though. It may turn into something. I don't know. This is such a good. I like it when we talk about this because you're right. Habits have triggers, and it may turn into something where you did it on a little, not a subconscious level, but it happened quicker. But I'm here to tell you that only happened because you've been planting that seed.
Yeah. Because of the streak that you had.
Because of that streak that
Otherwise,
you've had,
it wouldn't have happened.
It wouldn't have happened.
So that
don't
brings up a
give
good
up
point.
on that
There you go.
streak
Yeah.
that you do for a really long time just before you go to bed. Because you are training your mind to think differently.
So in that instance, okay, and I know we've talked a lot about this, but in that instance, maybe the streak does move into a habit. Do you think? I mean, it
That's a
may
good
be
question.
at that
At
point.
that moment, was
at that
it a little
moment,
bit?
Was it a habit at that point? Because we talk about, so habit is, just so we're clear on definitions here, the habit is the automatic response to something. In other words, there is, and you can read about this in The Power of Habit or in Atomic Habits, there is a trigger. Something happens that triggers a response. And when that trigger happens, well, and notice how I said it, response.
Right. You respond.
Does it
I'm picturing a
trigger a
Venn
reaction?
diagram where you've got one circle that's streaks and one circle that's habit. And there's this little part that they cross
that's in there.
over.
Because there's some things
but
that
it's
will
not-
never be habit.
Nope.
This one might be right in there.
But I don't know that it would have become a habit if you didn't have the streak.
I'm with you.
So
I'm right there with you.
It's still something you're intentionally choosing.
Yeah. And it may be something that I want to intentionally do and keep track of, because so here's the difference between the habit and the streak. The habit I never keep track of. I never say,
exactly.
oh, I did the habit.
Right.
You know, I've done that habit for X number of days. But I do keep track of the streak. That the record is the lifeblood of the streak.
Yep.
And so I look at the streak as absolutely critical to growth.
Right.
And I also look at the habit as maintaining where I am. There's some things, good habits that I've get. And what is a good habit? A good habit is the automatic response to something. It's not a bad habit. It's a good habit, because there's a lot of bad habits that we have in life.
Right.
That
we're doing
I'm
without.
reacting to something with a bad habit.
But setting a streak maybe gives you a higher potential of developing
Yeah.
some good habits, or that little Vin. What was your third?
What was my third one?
What was your third?
So the
streak
5
of
breaths,
stack?
the recognizing what it
Letting go of
was,
tension.
a place of tension. And the third one was what you had said earlier, is think back on an experience in your life. I don't even think it has to be in the last week, but think back on an experience in your life and see how you would have responded to it and be more patient.
You could also look forward too. I wonder if you
Yeah.
could look forward to things and be like, how can I respond?
You're hearing the music.
Oh, we've had so much fun talking about this.
All right. If you have any thoughts or ideas on this for us, let us know. Jeffrey, Jefffery at streakingmastery.com.
Jamie, JAMI at streakingmastery.com.
All right, guys.
And
if you haven't bought
patiently keep streaking.
Yeah, keep streaking. And go out and buy the book. It's really good.
Yes, the book
Streaking
will
book
help.
is awesome. Download the app.
The app is amazing.
Yeah, streaking. All right. See you guys later. Keep
Have a good
streaking.
one.
We live worth living among the rush. Do one push up, become a better you. It's the small and simple things that make you grow into what you're hoping. You're in a hurry, don't even worry. It's too simple not to do. It's the little things that make a better you. A better you.